Hallelujah, Yahweh. Ba Shema Mashiach Yamashiach. Shema Yasharella Yahweh Alahaya Number Alka, Tabar Mashbaka. Asha Shabbat. May peace, serenity, and prosperity be multiplied unto you all. Now, this video are a couple of segments put together that basically talks about governmental intelligence agencies monitoring Hebrew Israelites. We're going to let this video play. We're going to let this video play. I'm going to stop from time to time to add my commentary, and then we're going to further dissect this information with the scriptures as needed. Now, one thing I want to get clear, right? I want to get clear or make clear this label, Black Hebrew Israelites. Because Black Hebrew Israelites is not a term of the scriptures. That is yet another man-made derogative term to place a label on groups of people. There's no such thing as a Black Hebrew Israelite. It's just Hebrew Israelite. Black is a byword. It's a derogatory word. It really is. We're going to go to the scripture and prove it. All right? So without further ado, let me go ahead and bring out this scripture, and then we're going to get into the video as needed. So this is the book of Acts, chapter 13, verse 1. Now there were in the church that was at Antioch certain prophets and teachers, as Barnabas and Simeon, that was called Nigger, and Lucius of Cyrene, and Manaen, which had been brought up with Herod the Tetrarch, and Saul. So if you go into the biblical definition of the word nigger, it means black. It's Latin for black. It's a derogatory term that means black. It's also associated with being a messianic follower, or what they will call in modern times a Christian. It's in the Strong's Concordance. It's in the Zondervan Bible Dictionary as well. So it's a derogatory term. It's derogatory. It's a byword. As the scripture said, that the Israelites will be called many bywords among the nations, among the heathens. So let's get that understanding, because the creators of this video obviously use such a byword in the description that they're giving. Furthermore, Aksha'al, because of his melanin, was confused to be an Egyptian. And we see that here in Acts 21, verses 37 through 39, which reads, And as Paal was to be led into the castle, he said unto the chief captain, May I speak unto thee? Who said, Canst thou speak Greek? Verse 38, Art not thou that Egyptian, which before these days made us an uproar, and led us out into the wilderness 4,000 men that were murderers? But Shaal said, I am a man which am a Jew, of Tarsus, a city in Sicilia, excuse me, a citizen of no mean city. And I beseech thee, suffer me to speak unto the people. Let's go ahead and play this video.
Monitoring Black Israelites right now. 1. Iran's shocking discovery. U.S. intelligence agencies are watching Black Israelites. The revelation that U.S. intelligence agencies, particularly the CIA and FBI, have placed the Black Israelite movement under intense surveillance has ignited widespread debate and speculation, raising profound questions about the nature of state power, historical narratives, and the limits of religious and civil liberties. According to Iranian intelligence sources, American authorities perceive the movement as a potential destabilizing force, justifying covert monitoring and infiltration. This assertion
So I will say this. If you look at the country Iran, right? Iran. And you look way back into antiquity. Far, far, far into ancient antiquity, right? It is the landmass that used to be ancient Babylon, right? Ancient Babylon was once in that area where Iran stands today. Now, of course, we know that Iran is an enemy of the United States. So therefore, with this type of information being put out, it could be some type of psychological warfare or espionage to cause further confusion over here and to divert attention. It could be any of that. However, there's no affiliation between what's going on over here and in Iran. Like, you know what I'm saying? Anybody who's a Hebrew Israelite has no affiliation with any nation, especially Iran. There's no affiliation there, but the way they put this, they try to tie it together like it is some type of affiliation. But no, not at all. The only true affiliation we have is with the Most High. And we'll get further into that, right? We'll get further into that because as you see through this video, they try to tie anybody who knows that they're a biblical Israelite. They try to tie them to past movements like the Black Panther Party and this and that. No, it's nothing like that. It's nothing like the Black Panther Party. It's nothing like the Nation of Islam or any of that. This is 100% spiritual. This knowledge and awakening is 100% spiritual. So let's get that understood. This is the Most High Yahweh's business. The God of this entire existence and universe. This is his business. It has nothing to do with the will of man. But we'll tie that up and we'll see exactly how carnality plays into this. Let it continue.
It's deeper reflection on the motivations behind such scrutiny, the extent of governmental intervention, and the broader philosophical implications of knowledge, control, and state authority. While Iran's claim may be shaped by its own geopolitical agenda, the mere suggestion that a religious community rooted in Black identity and biblical heritage is being watched so closely by the U.S. government rekindles long-standing concerns about surveillance, racial
Again, this has nothing to do with quote unquote Black identity. But it does have everything to do with biblical heritage. So let's correct that right there. Because in the grand scheme of it all, it's not a black thing. It's not a quote unquote black thing, because you have Israelites that look like every shade of people. Yeah, scattered all across the world. You have Israelites that look like every shade of people. So it's not a quote unquote black thing like they keep saying. They keep using that byword to place a label on such a group of people.
Politics and the mechanisms through which dominant powers seek to regulate historical discourse. The Black Israelite movement has long occupied a space of fascination, controversy, and misrepresentation. At the core of its belief system is the assertion that African Americans, along with other people of color, are the true descendants of the biblical Israelites. This claim challenges conventional Judeo-Christian teachings and Western historical narratives, positioning the movement as both a religious and socio-political force. Over the past several decades, Black Israelite communities have gained visibility in urban centers across the United States, drawing adherents through teachings centered on identity, spirituality, and historical justice. For many followers, the movement is not merely a theological framework, but a radical act of reclamation, a means of
Radical act of reclamation. So such words are very much a gaslighting tactic. It's also a projection of fear. Okay? Radical is a very strong word. When you think of radical, you think of violence. You think of violence when you think of radical. You think of violence, you think of maliciousness. Again, this is the Most High's business. All right? This is the Most High's business. Radical goes to the extent of causing harm and loss of life. Yeah. Yeah. And we all know of an organization that has done much of that here in America, where a whole group of people were severely affected by such dogma and stance. So let's not go there and try to label radical on a group of people who have biblical and divine truth of who they are.
a lost heritage and resisting systemic oppression. In their view, the recognition of their lineage is not just an abstract intellectual exercise, but an existential awakening, one that empowers African Americans and other marginalized communities to redefine themselves outside the constraints of a Eurocentric historical paradigm. Given this transformative ideology, it is unsurprising that the movement has attracted both admiration and scrutiny. Supporters regard Black Israelites as truth seekers who challenge historical inaccuracies, while detractors, including some mainstream religious institutions and government bodies, frame them as a radical or subversive force.
All right. So those who understand the movement, right? Or not even a movement. It's not a movement. It's an awakening. This is all the work of the Most High. Those who understand that, they know that this is an act of God. This has nothing to do with the will of man. It's not the will of man that's bringing this out. It's not the will of man. This is the will of the Father. However, these detractors, right? These people who have scrutiny against this work of the Most High, yeah, it's already been talked about. The Father has already brought it to our recollection. This is the book of Psalm, chapter 83, verses 1 through 3. A song or psalm of Asaph. Keep not thy silence, O Alahayim. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O Alahayim. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. So that explains this whole matter to a T.
According to Iranian intelligence reports, U.S. authorities have designated the Black Israelite movement as a high-risk group due to its growing influence, its engagement with historical revisionism, and its potential to mobilize disenfranchised communities in ways that disrupt existing power structures. Iran claims to have intercepted communications and reviewed classified documents, indicating that American intelligence agencies have deployed a range of covert strategies to monitor and control the movement. These strategies allegedly include the use of informants.
So they want to monitor and control the work of the Most High. See, that's the arrogancy and foolishness of such a people in power. Let's prove it. Proverbs chapter 21, verses 30 through 31. There is no wisdom, nor understanding, nor counsel against Yahweh. Verse 31, the horse is prepared against the day of battle, but safety is of Yahweh. So, one moment. So with such observation and surveillance going on by governmental intelligence agencies like CIA, FBI, just know that the Most High has that going on for a purpose. Yeah. And see, what this will do, it's really for these 2/3 out here who are masquerading in truth. Because all that radicalism and all that being disruptive and radical, that has nothing to do with the Most High. You'll only find that in carnal individuals, carnal 2/3. That's the only way you'll see such activity. And if these allegations are 100% accurate, that's who they're looking for. They're looking for these carnal 2/3 that got the knowledge of the truth, but using that work of the truth deceitfully and start moving in carnal patterns and behaviors, similar to other organizations in the past where such programs like COINTELPRO were used to dismantle. Let's keep this video playing. We'll get more understanding of what I'm talking about.
Digital tracking and psychological operations designed to discredit Black Israelite teachings. Iranian analysts suggest suggests that the FBI and CIA have long viewed racial and religious movements with skepticism, particularly when those movements challenge dominant narratives. Historical precedents, such as the FBI's COINTELPRO operations in the 1960s and 1970s, designed to undermine black activist groups like the Black Panther Party and the Nation of Islam.
Exactly. So this awakening is nothing like the works and activity of the Black Panther Party nor the Nation of Islam. Has nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with that at all.
Offer a chilling historical parallel, reinforcing the idea that intelligence agencies would perceive the Black Israelites as a group worthy of surveillance. The fundamental question, however, is why the U.S. government would regard a religious movement, one centered on self-determination and spiritual revival, as a potential national security threat. Iranian sources speculate that the Black Israelite movement is being monitored not because of any direct threat of violence or insurrection, but because of its capacity to reshape historical consciousness.
Again, this is the work of the Most High God of this entire universe. So monitoring those individuals that the Most High is working with in such a biblical awakening is very vain and foolish. All they can do is get those who are acting deceitfully in the work of the Most High. Those who are trying to model after such groups as the Black Panther Party and the Nation of Islam. It will only affect those individuals who are in this truth deceitfully and of their own carnal desires. Let's get some precepts. Well, we get a few scriptures here. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 105, verses 13 through 15. When they went from one nation to another, from one kingdom to another people, he suffered no man to do them wrong. Yeah, he reproved kings for their sakes, saying, touch not mine anointed, and do my prophets no harm.
And challenge institutional authority. By asserting that African Americans are the true Israelites, the movement calls into question dominant religious and historical frameworks, including those that underpin Western Christianity and Jewish identity. This epistemic disruption is not merely theological, it is deeply political. If knowledge is power, then the ability to redefine one's historical and spiritual identity carries with it the potential to reconfigure existing social hierarchies. From the perspective of U.S. authorities, such a shift in consciousness could have profound societal consequences. A movement that encourages Black Americans to see themselves as a divinely chosen people, distinct from mainstream religious institutions, might inspire greater political activism, resistance to assimilation, and a reevaluation of historical allegiances. 2. What Iranian analysts say about the U.S.
Let's get some more scriptures here. Because in addition to Psalms 105, having such governmental forces come after Hebrew Israelites has been nothing new under the sun. We're going to go to the book of 2 Kings, chapter 6, verses 11 through 18. Therefore, the heart of the king of Assyria, Salak, therefore the heart of the king of Syria was sore troubled for this thing. And he called his servants and said unto them, will ye not show me which of us is for the king of Israel? And one of his servants said, none, my lord, O king, but Elisha, the prophet that is in Israel, telling the king of Israel the words that thou speakest in thy bedchamber. And he said, go and spy where he is. And he said, go and spy where he is, that I may send and fetch him. And it was told him, saying, behold, he is in Dothan. Verse 14, therefore sent he hither horses and chariots and a great host. And they came by night and compassed the city about. Verse 15, and when the servant of the man of Yahweh was risen early and gone forth, behold, an host compassed the city both with horses and chariots. And his servant said unto him, alas, my master, how shall we do? And he answered, fear not, for they that be with us are more than they that be with them. And Elisha prayed and said, Yahweh, I pray thee, open his eyes that he may see. And Yahweh opened the eyes of the young man, and he saw. And behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire round about Elisha. Verse 18, and when they came down to him, Elisha prayed unto Yahweh and said, smite this people, I pray thee, with blindness. And he smote them with blindness, according to the word of Elisha. So, as we see here, when the Syrian forces came to subdue Elisha and his servant, the chariots of Yahweh intervened. Yeah, the chariots of Yahweh intervened. The chariots of Yahweh are what they call UAPs, aka UFOs. Now, we already know that the government intelligence agencies were freaking out about this a few months ago, about all these quote unquote drones that they were seeing. We take this as a reminder that this awakening of knowledge has nothing to do with man, but everything to do with the Most High, endowing knowledge on his chosen people, waking up the people that he had under such chastisements and punishments throughout the centuries, throughout antiquity, ever since these same people decided to turn their hearts away from him and reject their own heritage. But now, the Most High is waking those same people up to return to him, and it has the other nations scared. This has nothing to do with man. There is no man orchestrating or leading this. None whatsoever. I'm going to let this video play some more, and then we're going to get to some more scriptures.
Government's fear of black Israelites. Iranian analysts argue that the U.S. government's surveillance of black Israelites is not an isolated incident, but part of a long-standing strategy to suppress politically conscious black movements. Drawing parallels to historical intelligence operations, such as COINTELPRO, the infamous FBI program that targeted civil rights activists, Iran contends that American intelligence agencies have consistently sought to neutralize movements promoting black self-determination. According to Iranian intelligence officials, the Black Israelite movement presents a unique challenge to U.S. authorities precisely because it intersects with multiple areas of concern: historical revisionism, political mobilization, and international geopolitics. These dimensions, they claim, render black Israelites a focal point of state surveillance, not due to any genuine security threat, but because of the movement's potential to disrupt the established order by challenging dominant historical and religious narratives. The U.S. government has a well-documented history of monitoring and suppressing black-led movements, particularly those advocating for self-governance and challenging dominant historical frameworks. The Black Panther Party, the Nation of Islam, and even Martin Luther King Jr.'s Southern Christian Leadership Conference all faced extensive government surveillance, infiltration, and disruption under COINTELPRO. Declassified FBI documents reveal that one of the program's explicit goals was to prevent the rise of a black messiah who could unify and lead African Americans toward greater political and economic autonomy. Iranian analysts argue that this mentality persists today, with black Israelites now occupying the role of a movement that challenges mainstream religious, historical, and social constructs.
This is the book of Baruch, chapter 2, verses 9 and verses 30 through 35. Wherefore, Yahweh watcheth over us for evil, and Yahweh hath brought it upon us, for Yahweh is righteous in all his works, which he hath commanded us. Baruch chapter 2, verse 30. For I knew that they would not hear me, because it is a stiff-necked people. But in the land of their captivities they shall remember themselves, and shall know that I am Yahweh their Elohim. For I will give them an heart and ears to hear, and they shall praise me in the land of their captivity, and think upon my name, and return from their stiff neck and from their wicked deeds. For they shall remember the way of their fathers, which sinned before Yahweh. And I will bring them again into the land which is promised with an oath unto their fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And they shall be lords of it, and I will increase them, and they shall not be diminished. And I will make an everlasting covenant with them to be their God, and they shall be my people, and I will no more drive my people of Israel out of the land that I have given them.
To Iranian intelligence, the surveillance of black Israelites is an extension of this deeply ingrained institutional fear. The movement's emphasis on reclaiming biblical identity and resisting assimilation into Western religious traditions places it squarely at odds with the mainstream Judeo-Christian framework that underpins American society. Additionally, black Israelites frequently highlight systemic oppression, addressing issues such as mass incarceration, economic exploitation, and racial injustice, topics that have historically provoked government scrutiny of black-led movements. Iran suggests that by closely monitoring black Israelites, U.S. intelligence agencies are not reacting to any tangible security threat, but are instead engaging in preemptive containment of a group that has the potential to shift public discourse in significant ways. While U.S. officials have occasionally pointed to isolated incidents of extremist rhetoric or confrontations involving individuals associated with the Black Israelite movement. Iranian analysts argue that the true motivation behind government surveillance is not fear of violent extremism, but fear of ideological influence. The core claim of Black Israelites, that African Americans are the true descendants of the biblical Israelites, poses a fundamental challenge to widely accepted historical and theological narratives. If this perspective were to gain widespread acceptance, Iranian scholars contend, it could have profound consequences for religious institutions, racial identity politics, and even international relations. Iranian officials outlined three primary reasons why they believe the U.S. government views the growing influence of Black Israelites as a potential threat. First, the movement's assertion that mainstream interpretations of biblical history have been deliberately distorted represents a direct challenge to Western religious institutions. According to this perspective, European powers and religious authorities have historically suppressed the truth about the true identity of the Israelites to maintain control over historical narratives. If the Black Israelite interpretation were to gain traction, it could significantly undermine the credibility of Western religious institutions, particularly those that have upheld a Eurocentric portrayal of biblical figures. This revisionist perspective, Iranian analysts argue, is particularly troubling for the U.S. government because it strikes at the heart of America's religious and cultural foundations. Christianity has played a central role in shaping American identity, and any widespread challenge to traditional theological interpretations could lead to broader societal shifts. If African Americans, and potentially other
2 Chronicles, chapter 7, verse 14. If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land.
groups began embracing an alternative biblical narrative that rejects traditional church teachings, it could diminish the authority of mainstream religious institutions and usher in a wave of religious and cultural realignment. Beyond its religious implications, the Black Israelite movement has increasingly vocalized its stance on systemic racism, police brutality, mass incarceration, and economic inequality. Many Black Israelites see their identity not merely as a religious awakening, but as a call to action against contemporary forms of oppression. This intersection of faith and activism aligns them with broader social justice movements, including Black Lives Matter and other racial justice organizations.
Again, this has nothing to do with no such organizations. It has nothing to do with Black Lives Matter. It has nothing to do with the Black Panther Party. It has nothing to do with the Nation of Islam or any of that. This is all the works of the Most High. This is the book of Micah, chapter 2, verse 1. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it, because it is in the power of their hand. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 29, verse 15. Woe unto them that seek deep to hide their counsel from Yahweh, and their works are in the dark. And they say, who seeth us? And who knoweth us? I'm going to stop right there. May peace, serenity, and prosperity be multiplied unto you all. Shalom.